Captain America, the First Avenger, is the fifth installment of the MCU. It was produced back in 2011 by Marvel Studios and it was distributed by Paramount Pictures. Directed by Joe Johnston, the director of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Jumanji, and The Rocketeer. Now, as we continue on this path towards Avengers Endgame, it is our turn to review it. It is still a good movie. Is it worth a watch? Or it's just, after, some years has passed, it's not as good as it used to be. We will talk about it in the next couple of minutes. The good. I love Chris Evans. He is definitely the best or the perfect person for Steve Rogers' Captain America. I definitely didn't see it coming when he was cast for the role. A lot of people were skeptical of his role because prior to that, he was just a party boy in most of those movies that he wasn't fantastic for as Johnny Storm. But beyond that, I didn't recognize him as a serious actor. And definitely he brought that seriousness to the character. And no one can consider Captain America without really thinking of him, particularly in the cinematic universe. He definitely plays the part. He does the character justice. In the movie, of course, Steve Rogers is a kid that cares about his country. He cares about his friends by Bucky Barnes. And definitely he is a person that is selfless and he wants to do the right thing. He wants to stand up against bullies. And so he did a phenomenal job. Hayley Atwell as Agent Peggy Carter is another highlight of the film. She has a strong personality. She's not only beautiful, but she's also very strong, and she brings that strength into the character. She's not a damsel in distress, and that's another alluring part of her. And definitely this relationship she has with Captain Steve Rogers in the film, this romance they have, is definitely a highlight, something that you really care about. You care about the relationship, even though they don't really say it, even though they really don't go the extra mile, that they care about each other. But that's something that didn't happen overnight. It's something that it builds up from the beginning of the movie until the end. So that's another great aspect of this film. Also, the movie has a phenomenal cast. I love Tommy Lee Jones' personification of Colonel Chester Phillips. He's a military man. He portrays the character well. He's sarcastic. He is a no-nonsense type of guy. He just does what he does. He cares for what he cares. He cares about his troops. He cares about the people, but he's not easy to please, because he has seen a lot and he acts the part. And definitely he has also phony moments, particularly those conversations he has with Dr. Abraham Erskine that was played by Stanley Tucci. Stanley Tucci also was phenomenal in the portrayal of Abraham Erskine. He does a phenomenal job. He doesn't have much to do in the movie and the later parts of the film because, of course, he gets killed in the film. But in the parts that he was there, he has some of the most powerful lines in the film. And he injects that into the character, the seriousness of the matter. And definitely he becomes like the voice behind Steve Rogers that pushes him to do what he does, what he knows is the right thing to do. Hugo Weaving as Johann Smith, or the Red Skull, is also a great aspect of the film. For so long, the MCU has been criticized for not having the best villains, but I think that the Red Skull was a great villain in its own right. And of course, Hugo Weaving is a phenomenal actor. He portrayed the part. He's a man looking for power. He craves power by all means necessary. And definitely he portrays that character that we know from the comics, and he does it masterfully. Now, in difference with Thor, also Captain America has a lot of dark moments. There's a lot of dark scenes. Of course, we're talking about in a time, a few years ago, where still a lot of CGI was in development, particularly for this type of films. But the difference between Thor and Captain America is that the dark scenes in Captain America really play well with the mood of the film. It has the vintage film that Thor, of course, didn't have or was not supposed to have. So definitely here it does play well. Of course, there is a vintage feel, the music, the cinematography, the visuals, the lighting, everything kind of plays the part, the costumes, all of that. And of course, Mr. Johnston, the director Johnston, he is well known for this. Of course, he did that with the Rocketeer. So when it comes about really portraying the image of All Americana, definitely he is the director, and he did a phenomenal job putting all this together and making it feel like you're talking about back in the 40s. One of the greatest aspects of this film is the fact that even though it's a preamble to the Avengers, it doesn't play like that. And that's a problem other movies have, and even in the MCU, that technically they're just intermissions to the next thing, but this doesn't work that way. Even though you know that it's setting up this stage for the Avengers, it plays as a standalone film, and that's something that is all welcoming, because you can watch this movie, you can actually distance this from the MCU, and you'll be okay without a problem. You can watch it without really following the MCU. It is a good movie, it's a good single story, all self-contained, and that's something that is worth to praise. The bad. Of course, the movie, although it has so many great elements, also has some not so good elements. And technically this will be probably more nitpicks from my part, but they are there, and of course there are little flaws that we need to acknowledge. First of all, there is the lack of historical accuracy. Of course, this is an adventure. This is based on a comic book story, so you know the historical accuracy goes out the window. But it's good when a movie kind of plays the part not only with the senses but also with the reality of the history, particularly in the setting that this is evolving. This is a story that happens in World War II. So there are a couple of things there that they're not accurate. Like, for example, you see mixed troops. Of course, now you know it's something that we do, and based on what Hollywood expects is to have more inclusiveness with actors and extras and all of that. The reality is, back in those days, there was not such thing. You know, military groups were not. There was no mixing of races within military groups. It's something that you see here. It is a nitpick, but it's the reality that it's not historically accurate. And if you read the comics, original comics from Captain America, you realize that the historical facts are historical facts and are respected even in the comic book. So here it goes out. It's just a nitpick, and so there's no accuracy in some other things like symbols. For example, even though you see some Nazis in there, there's no Nazi symbols. Of course, we have to keep in mind that in countries like in Germany is prohibited, and of course the movie is distributed there, so they have to accommodate in order for some of those, the importance of cultural integration for some of these movies into other countries. So it's a nitpick, but it's something as historical accuracy that is not there. Also, some events make no sense. For example, the fact like Captain America flying a plane when he has no knowledge of how to fly a plane, he does that twice, and it's something that he's not a pilot, he's a military, he's in the army. So things like that really kind of take away. You might not notice it unless you really pay attention. And a couple of things, actions that are really out of the ordinary, or the fact, for example, that the Hydra is able to control the power of the Tesseract, even though it's way beyond their understanding of human understanding. But they have the technology, and they're able to manage the technology, even after the fact that even S.H.I.E.L.D. years later was unable even to control it. So you realize that a couple of things are more than nitpicks, but at the end of the day, they're tiny flaws that kind of damage a little bit of the experience, even not to the extent to say that it hurts the entire movie, but they are there. In conclusion, Captain America, the First Avenger, is a great piece of Americana. It celebrates America. It celebrates American values, which is something that is very important even in this age. It does have a lot of values that we understand as Americans. The value of patriotism, of honor, doing the right thing, standing for the least of these. All of those things, respecting our flag, respecting our country, all of those things are important in today's date. And they are there. So that's something that really is a welcome thing to watch. Also, it has a lot of vintage feel of the old America, the old things that probably only watch on TV now, in all movies, but everything is brought together, and it's a piece of history that really celebrates that, and celebrates Captain America, and celebrates comics in general, and also has powerful message. One of the most powerful message to me in this film is one of the things that Dr. Erskine said to Steve Rogers before he goes into the procedure of becoming Captain America. where he mentioned that a weak man knows the value of strength, but also knows compassion. I think this is something that encompasses this film so powerfully, and not only that, encompasses the American feel and the understanding of America and the values of America that are deep engraved in our own heart, but sometimes they don't come out, but they're there. And there's something that is important, that I think this film has such a powerful message, not only for children, because they are going to learn a lot from this film, but also from anyone, every person, not only Americans, but every person around the world that can understand this are simple principles that really matter. So definitely, this is a phenomenal film. It is definitely almost perfect. Without those little flaws, it is almost perfect. And definitely, I have more appreciation now from this film than I did when I watched it the first time. It is perfect for the family. It's perfect for everyone. So my final score for this film is 9.5 out of 10. I can tell you one thing. At first, I didn't put that much score into this film. I've been watching it so many times. But now that I review it and I really kept my eye open and really pay attention to things, I realized that there's so much power. It is almost a perfect film. My wife considers it a 10, but I have to count the flaws. So definitely it's a 9.5. It's almost perfect. But definitely it's a great film, and definitely a game changer for the MCU that really set the stage for whatever is to come, even more than Iron Man did, or the Invincible Hulk, or Thor. This movie really set the stage for the Avengers and for everything that came after. So what is your opinion? I would like to hear it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification button so you're reminded of the next video. Please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And also don't forget to listen and to follow me on my podcast. All the links are down below. So once again, thanks for watching. God bless you, and I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.